Okay, and we are recording. So,
Ready for me?
yeah, please.
Okay. Hello again, and welcome back to the Gentleman Bon Vivant.
And we were talking about this briefly. Never rehearsals, we can assure you. But going over my notes here, I'm looking at.
I'm Gerri, by the way.
Well, I've already introduced you in the segue.
Oh,
This is episode 5. They probably know who you are by now. Let's start from
start
the top.
over.
Yeah, and we are on.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Gentleman Bon Vivant.
Her name is Gerri. So, and this is an absolutely fabulous espresso. Um, Made it myself. It's wonderful. Um, so we wanted to just to simply cover down on the history of why a gentleman holds certain people in high regard. And I think it was explained to me one time when I was a second lieutenant, a baby officer in the United States military. And I don't know the veracity or really just how BS this is or not, but it came from at the time a captain in and a TAC officer, one of the like the drill sergeant types that you have in officer candidate school. But I got to know him after I was commissioned a little bit better than just being yelled at and being told to do push-ups. Um, and he told me that in battle back in the day, right? Back in the old days, the captain, right? Capo, right? The Latin for the head, which is what the captain is the head, right? The skipper, so to speak. Standing out on the battlefield, the captain's fighting and directing his troops. So he's got a saber, a sword, whatever weapon system he's got, and probably not necessarily a shield because he's directing troops and maneuvering and trying to kill people and whatnot. The person to his left would have a shield in their arm and a sword, right? And this was a form of protection. And they were standing in lieu of the captain, i.e., lieutenant, so being in the place of the captain. Um, and so, whether that's true or not, I have no idea. Could I have researched it? Yes, but right now I'm learning Turkish, Vietnamese, and polishing up on my Italian for a trip next week to the northern part of Italy. So no time to truly research that one. But the idea stuck in my head that if you're on the left, you're in a better position to protect someone. And so, you know, that's what we kind of boil it all down to, right? So the superior officer. Well, in a relationship, typically, one isn't considered a superior officer versus a junior officer or a soldier compared to any officer. It is really just about maybe instead of a designated leadership role, it's about a situational leadership role, right? And placing the person that you love, that you hold in high regard, in the most protected place possible. um, but it's not a pedestal as you were putting it, Shotzi. So I'd be interested to see how what your take is on that. I know you're very adamant about the pedestal thing, and I think that's a good thing. So please
he is.
expound.
He keeps or kept wanting to say, um, "How does it feel to be put on a pedestal or exalted?" And I just thought that was insane. I don't think I'm on a pedestal or exalted. I just think he does what he does because he cares for me and he wants to take care of me. So that's very sweet. It's much sweeter sounding than a pedestal or exalted.
Right. And I can understand because it does sound somewhat elitist, that language, right? Um,
Well, it
but
makes me feel like I'm being a jerk, like I deserve something that I haven't necessarily earned it, that I just deserve it, and that I think, like what is the word where I entitled.
entitled.
Makes me feel like I'm an entitled little brat, and I really try not to be.
Yeah, but no, but I can see though that it's about placing the better survivor right? I think I'm gonna probably stick with the better survivor here because if if something happens to me, the kids, well, they have you, right, and you're a much better figure as far as, I don't know, nurturing and whatnot. I mean, the things that, I mean, you bring life into this world, right? And
You can
that,
take it out.
and you can take it out. Exactly. My mutti used to say to me all the time, "I brought you into this world, and I'll take you out." No, she didn't actually say that. She never said that once. My dad
His
might
Muti
have.
is going to be watching this.
That's right. Well, yeah, my Fati might have said that, but certainly not meine Mutti.
I'm pretty sure I've heard it a few times
Yeah,
when I
but
was
I'm sure
little.
your mother would have probably actually said that, and I can just
Mm.
imagine it too. Jerry Lynn, I brought you in this world. I'll take you out of it. You know,
I would have cried. She wouldn't have even had to say it. Now my other sisters, yes.
yeah. Um, but I think you're the better survivor for one. You not only bring life into the world, but you should be rewarded for that, for everything that you go through. Um, and I think in a lot of ways too, women are treated, around the world in every single country like second class citizens in so many ways, and so therefore, it just seems the fair, right, and noble thing to do. Um, but I mean, you would have to agree to an extent that you would be the better survivor, correct? I mean, are we close
Well,
on this one?
only in that um, for the grandkids maybe, but I don't know that I'm the better survivor. I think it's the gentlemanly thing to maybe do or say, but
Yeah, well, it's like wearing
I'm
flip
more
flops.
maternal. How about that?
It's like wearing flip flops, right? It goes through some very basic things. Like learning how to defend yourself, right? Learning how to fight because sometimes it's necessary. Hate it when it happens. Hasn't happened in a long time for me, but it can happen, and you need to be prepared. It's like wearing a pair of flip flops, to walk around town or something. How are you going to spring into action if you're wearing flip flops and you're having an espresso at a nice little cafe and somebody grabs your wife's Burberry bag and starts running with it, right? What are you going to do? Chase after them in your flip flops? Or if you get assaulted or something like that, how are you going to stand? If you're like me, you can't just slip them off because I have tender feet.
So it wouldn't do
I
you any
can't
good to
go
shed those
anywhere.
things.
I couldn't run barefooted after an assailant. So
Hopefully, the adrenaline would remove the pain.
no, that would not. It would not. Absolutely not. Not one single bit. Um, but if we get right down to like the brass tacks of it all, I mean, from my perspective, I think, um, and I can only speak to my perspective, so I don't think. I mean, this is what I know my perspective to be. It goes back to even the question of military service as in a compulsory, a draft. Should women be drafted? I would say no. They're essential to life and nurturing and these things that we need: love, shelter, concern, care. If they want to join and serve in any role they're suited, then by all means. I saw a young woman at the airbase here. A few months back. She was a first lieutenant, United States Army. She had she had on a Ranger tab and a combat patch, and I was really impressed with those two things. It literally almost brought me to tears. I can only imagine what that was like for her going through that. And I'm sure she's an infantry platoon leader or something along those lines, or an XO, perhaps about to become a rifle company commander. And I bet just after chatting with her for a few minutes that she will be one of the most amazing officers that her soldiers have ever had by the time they've experienced that. That's just my projection. But she's free to do that if she wants. But should it be compulsory? I don't know. I don't think so. Not at all. In terms of equality, we can make an argument, of course, but I think it's just like if you go back to World War II, the people who did not get drafted were the steel workers, the people building the tanks and the planes. And When there weren't enough of them, in the traditional male role, guess what? Rosie the Riveter came on the scene and became a legitimate, no doubt, one of the major heroes of the civilian effort in World War II. So yes, women do amazing things, but should they be forced? That's always my point. You're the better survivor. I think you should be heralded, exalted, pedestaled, if you will. But I understand that kind of gets caught in your, as they'd say down in Georgia, caught in your craw.
I'm going to no comment on that one.
That's fair enough. So, my final point.
I sound like the big jerk if I do comment to probably a lot of women and men. So, I better just leave that one where it is.
Well, to wrap it up, I would say this is how I treat my wife, who is also my date. I wouldn't have it.
A very long date.
Yeah, 32 years we've been
dating.
And but we're going to figure out if we're really compatible at some point, and then I'll hit her up, make her an honest woman. But we wouldn't have life on Earth without them, and so that I just think that's kind of a thing. But more than anything, it's about holding in the highest regard and protecting and caring, for your better half. And I think any honest gentleman would have to admit that. Otherwise, they're probably a psychopath.
Did you talk about like when we're walking on the sidewalk and you're not paying attention, and then I try to put myself where I'm supposed to be because you're not paying attention sometimes?
Well, I do get lost in artistic thought, and I start looking at architecture or colors, and I start kind of thinking like, wow, I could do a painting of that, or I could write a poem about that. And I start working all through my head, and next thing you know, I'm 4 paces away and not being a very good guardian of my exalted one. And so let me just start calling you Dear Leader.
No.
Maybe just stick with SWIMBO. SWIMBO is an acronym that stands for She Who Must Be Obeyed, as a reminder. But Dear Leader, we want to keep them safe. That's the whole point. And sometimes she has to remind me by getting on the actual correct side of me so that I'm doing my job. She's keeping me from looking like a heel, and when she does that. So it is nice, by the way.
It's not an expectation on my part. It's really for him, because again, he's concerned about looking like a jerk. And so I guess I'm trying to keep him from looking like a jerk.
I do appreciate that very much. Yes, I would hate for somebody else
You are a reflection on me, so.
For 32 years. And so, 32 years. So, let's, what do you say? You want to wrap that up?
Sounds good to me.
I mean, ladies, significant others, partners, spouses, if your gentleman is in an aloof state, head in the clouds, sometimes it's nice for you to help them to keep from looking like a heel. But at the end of the day, gentlemen, it's up to you, right? To make sure that you're providing the best coverage possible, doing the best you can, for those who are most important to you. So, any final thoughts, sweetheart?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so, babe.
Well, we are going to go out and do a little antiquing this afternoon on this glorious spring day that literally is paradise here. So we will enjoy that.
I keep looking over the camera at outside, and I just think, oh, it's so beautiful today.
Yes.
So if I'm looking up, that's what I'm looking at.
When it's sunny in Rheinland-Pfalz, that means that someone in the Black Forest has sacrificed a goat. So thank you for that goat sacrifice and for our lovely weather. Until the next time, I would just like to remind everyone that there were many, many times in life where I had no money,
Yes, but we were never poor.
Never, ever poor. Mm-mm. All right. Have a wonderful day. Ciao. Tschüss. Auf Wiedersehen. Bis bald.